I think that it's important to eat locally grown food for several reasons. To support local economy, you have a face-to-face relationship with the person that's growing your food, and I think that it's more about relationship than just the food. I also think that food that's grown locally is more nutritious. When you eat local, it's better for the environment. I mean, obviously, number one, your footprint is smaller. You're not driving all the way across the United States to get your tomatoes. And I also think that they don't have to treat the products as much when they won't be traveling. So they don't have to cover it all with wax because it's going right from, you know, Hinton, Virginia to the farmer's market here in Harrisonburg. So there's a lot less preparation of the food. It's a lot less processed.
I started the cafe about 6 years ago, not in this particular location, but in another location. People seem to like our concept, they like our food, and they like just the wholesomeness of what we're doing here. Some of the places that I buy locally kind of varies. I buy from individual farmers, some who grow throughout the year. I buy from people that I know from selling at the farmers markets, and they will come to us when they have excess vegetables. And I will also buy from a produce auction, which is a great place where local people can take their bumper crops and sell them. If you want to buy locally, supermarkets tend to say if it's locally grown. They'll certainly say if it's not grown in the U.S. And so sometimes I will ask the produce manager, was this grown regionally? Because it might be apples and maybe they're from the Carolinas, but if they're not really in season here, then that's still preferable to buying them from Washington State, for example. So yeah, you can either, usually it's labeled, or you can ask your produce manager.
Fair trade, I mean, basically is just that. It's a way of trading fairly, typically in developing countries. So it offers artisans and farmers in developing countries a marketplace where they can sell their goods or their, you know, in the case of coffee or chocolate, their products in a market where folks have a little bit more disposable income.
One of the components of fair trade is that all items have to be eco-friendly or have to support the environment in some way. So we have a lot of different recycled products. We have some things from Bangladesh that are made out of recycled newspapers and magazines. We have some good, if you look up here, we have lots of things made out of recycled tire inner tubes, seat belts, recycled plastics, the Haitian cut metal. It's made from oil drums that we dump offshore in Haiti. Almost everything in the store comes from something recycled.
I want to know what you're made of, and the way that I'm going to test that is I want you guys to pretend that you are a factory, okay? And you produce something, and guess what? It's a gas. And that gas, guess what? We're mostly water on this planet, right? We have a lot of oceans. 3/4 of this planet is ocean. And that is what is in every single one of your cups in front of you. Blow into the cups and note what happens, please. Did the color change? You guys are generally producing two things, okay? Carbon dioxide and water vapor. By breathing, you guys make the oceans more acidic, and we just demonstrated that, right? You guys exhaled the carbon dioxide that you produced, not the water, changed the acidity level by having more acid and it went from pink to clear. It's not a good thing. We're making the oceans more acid. It turns out carbon dioxide and water are also things that we call greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases make our planet warmer and warmer and warmer. So in your lifetimes, you will be looking at a much warmer planet just because you're breathing. If you're talking about a footprint and it's made out of carbon, well, where are you getting your carbon? Turns out when you flip a switch, you're using carbon. And you're generally in Harrisonburg area, at least, you're using half of our electricity is from coal. You know, that's 300 million year old sunshine. So maybe people should be mindful of where they get their electricity. And so maybe ask for more local and fresh sources of energy. Kids can be mindful of where their electricity is coming from and ask for more green sources of electricity. And that means not really old sunshine, but more recent sunshine. So a solar panel on the top of your house or your school. Push your school to invest in solar. push your school just to invest in renewable energy, period. So that's sort of the electricity side. And then also, how do you feed yourself? I mean, are you basically buying grapes from Chile and oranges from Brazil, or are you growing your own food? Are you getting your food more locally? And hopefully the kids got a lot of that from the Bowl of Good experience. So if you think about how you power your home, how you power yourself, I think the last element of the equation is, well, how do you power your car? And it turns out, what's the greenest car out there? Some people would say, well, it must be a Prius, a hybrid electric car. Well, the problem with that is that those are very expensive cars to make, and they get about 50 miles per gallon, which is great. So they're really thrifty with a fossil fuel, gasoline. But what if you were burning 100% biodiesel? You know what that is? That's a field of weeds turned into diesel, and that's last summer's sunshine. So to my way of thinking, you don't even know what a green car is until you start asking the question, where does the carbon come from? So how does a student reduce their carbon footprint? In my mind, it's thinking about their gas, their food, and their lodging, and where the carbon is.